Good morning, children. Today I am going to revise History Chapter 1 How, When and Where. See, already we have revised this chapter in the last video class, but some question and answers were left, right? So now I will give you a quick revision and let's move on to the remaining question and answers. Okay? See, what is history? History is certainly about changes that occur over time. See, simply we can say history is study of the past events, isn't it? Yes. See, it is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed. For example, from the discovery of wheel to the development of modern transport is recorded in history, isn't it? Then let me ask you a question. Who is known as the father of history? Herodotus. Herodotus is the father of history. Okay. Now let's see how important are dates. See, dates are very important in history, isn't it? Yes. Why? Because they form the backbone of information in history. And also dates tell us when an event was held. For example, on 21st April 1526, the first battle of Panipat was fought between whom? Babur and Ibrahim Lodi. In this battle, Babur won and he became the first Mughal emperor of India, isn't it? Yes, like dates tell about the events, kings and their policies and battles which occurred at a particular time. For example, if we take Akbar the Great, with the help of dates, we get to know the year Akbar ascended the throne, the important battles fought, significant rules passed during his period, and the year he died. Okay. So, dates are very important in history. Children, do you remember who was the first Governor General of India? Warren Hastings, isn't it? Yes. In which year he became the first Governor General of India? 1773. So, in the year 1773, Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India. Okay. Children, who is James Rennell? James Rennell was a British geographer, isn't it? And what did James Rennell produced? James Rennell produced a map of Hindustan. In which year he produced a map of Hindustan? 1782. So, a map of Hindustan was produced by whom and which year? A map of Hindustan was produced by James Rennell in the year 1782. Okay, fine. Then James Rennell was asked by whom to produce a map of Hindustan? Robert Clive, isn't it? So Robert Clive asked James Rennell to produce a map of Hindustan. So James Rennell produced a map of Hindustan in the year 1782. Okay. Now let's see about James Mill. Actually, already we have revised this chapter, isn't it? So let me ask you a question. Who was James Mill? Who was James Mill? James Mill was a Scottish economist and political philosopher, isn't it? Yes. And also James Mill published a 3-volume work, that is a history of British India. In which year he published a 3-volume work, A History of British India? 1817. So, in the year 1817, who published a 3-volume work, A History of British India? James Mill. So, James Mill published a 3-volume work. What is its name? A History of British India. Okay, so in which year he published? 1817. Okay, and also James Mill divided the Indian history into how many parts? 3 parts. What are they? Hindu, Muslim and British. So, James Mill divided the Indian history into Hindu, Muslim and British. But generally, historians divided the Indian history into ancient, medieval and modern. Okay. See, I gave you a quick revision, right? Now, we will move on to the question and answers. In fact, we saw the first question and answer in the last video class, right? Now, let's revise the remaining question and answers. Now, let's see the question number 2. What did the British do to preserve important official documents and letters? Okay. See, the British believed that the act of writing was very important. Who believed that the act of writing was important? The British. Every instruction, plan, policy, decision, agreement, investigation had to be clearly written up. So once this was done, things could be properly studied and debated. So Britishers believed that the act of writing was very important, and if these are written, it will be much easier to go through them later, right? So if there is any need, also rules will be modified, isn't it? So they believed, who believed? The British believed that the act of writing was very important. Okay, fine. And also the British felt the need to preserve all the important official documents and letters. For this, what did they do? They set up record rooms attached to all administrative institutions. See, do you know what were the administrative institutions during the British period? The village Tahsildar's office, the collectorate, the commissioner's office, the provincial secretariats, the law courts, or were the administrative institutions. So, these administrative institutions had their record rooms. In fact, at present, our administrative institutions such as village VO office we have, right? Then Tahsildar's office we have, collectorate we have, then commissioner's office, even secretariats we have, the law courts, isn't it? These are the present day administrative institutions, isn't it? So, the Britishers attached record rooms to all the administrative institutions. Okay, fine. And also, the British established specialized institutions such as, what are they? Archives and museums. For what purposes they established these specialized institutions? To preserve important records, isn't it? Children, what is the meaning of archive? Archive is an accumulation of historical records. So, what is the meaning of archive? Archive is an accumulation of historical records. In order to preserve records, Britishers set up archives. Even today, if we visit the Tamil Nadu Archives Office located in Chennai, we can see one of the oldest and largest document collections in South India. Here, all the important records during the British period can also be found. Okay. Then, what is a museum? Museum is a building in which objects of historical importance, scientific interest are stored and exhibited. Children, you may have heard of Keezhadi Agalwaraiji, Keezhadi excavation in Madurai, isn't it? Here, many artifacts, coins, even human remains, inscriptions were discovered. This leads to the idea that Kizhadi civilization is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. You know, Kizhadi excavation site is a Sangam period excavation. Okay, fine. Third question. What do official records not tell? How do we come to know about them? See, official records do not always help us understand what other people in the country felt and what lay behind their actions. See, simply we can say official records only show the perspectives of the rulers, not of the people. See, for example, when a ruler levied a new tax on the people, the records contain only the details about the tax. It does not contain the negative effects it had on the people. So, it won't show how people suffered due to heavy taxes. Like that, official records do not always help us understand what other people in the country felt. Okay, for that we have diaries of people, accounts of pilgrims and travelers, autobiographies of important personalities, and popular booklets that were sold in the local bazaars. Then after printing spread, newspapers also were published and issues were debated in public. See, leaders and reformers wrote to spread their ideas. Poets and novelists wrote to express their feelings. For example, Mahakavi Bharatiyar, if we say Mahakavi Bharatiyar, he expressed his ideas through poetry. Then, for example, Bal Gangadhar Tilak expressed his views by writing articles for the newspaper Kesari, and also Rabindranath Tagore's works, literary works, isn't it? And so many reformers wrote to spread their ideas. In fact, one of the best examples of autobiographies of important personalities, Mahatma Gandhiji's My Experiments with Truth, isn't it? So, the sources, the other sources help the historians to construct the past. Okay. See, fourth question. How did the British conquer India and establish their rule? See, the British conquered India in the following ways. But let me ask you a question. Why did the Britishers come to India? For trading purposes, isn't it? So, the Britishers came for trade, isn't it? Then, what attracted the Britishers to India? The fine qualities of cotton and silk. Then, spices such as pepper, cloves, cardamom and cinnamon, isn't it? So, Britishers came for trade in India. Okay, fine. Then, how did they subjugate local Nawabs and Rajas? How did they establish their rule over India? First, they subjugated local Nawabs and Rajas. Subjugated means dominated, controlled over. First, they subjugated local Nawabs and Rajas. Then, they established control over the country, economy and society. Then collected revenue to meet all their expenses. See, initially the Britishers imported gold and silver from Britain for trading purposes in India. But when they got collecting revenue rights, what did they do? They stopped to import silver and gold. They used a country's revenue to meet all their expenses. So, what did they do? They stopped to import gold and silver. Then they bought goods at a cheap price and sell them to Europe at a higher price. And also they forced the farmers to cultivate the crops that they needed to export. For example, cotton, indigo, etc. In fact, the Britishers brought changes in rulers and tastes, customs and practices. there were many superstitious beliefs that were followed in those days. So the British brought many changes in these customs. For example, they abolished sati, then palya vivah, and so many superstitious beliefs also. Thus, they molded everything in the favor and subjugated the country very soon. Okay. Fifth question. Write a note on the National Archives of India came up in the 1920s. See, already we have discussed about archives and museums set up by Britishers in order to preserve the important documents and letters, isn't it? See, do you recollect what is the meaning of archive? Archive is an accumulation of historical records, isn't it? And what is a museum? Museum is a building in which objects of historical importance and scientific interest are stored and exhibited, isn't it? Already I have told you about Keeladi excavation site, isn't it? Keeladi Ahalvaraichi. Then for archives I gave an example, Chennai Archives Office, isn't it? Tamil Nadu Archives Office, isn't it? Now let's see the National Archives of India. When New Delhi was built, the National Museum and the National Archives were both located close to the Viceregal Palace. It means these both located close to the Viceroy's Palace, Governor General's Palace. Okay. So this located reflects the importance these institutions had in British imagination. So in which year the National Archives of India came up? 1920s. Okay. See, now let's see answer in detail. The first question, how did surveys become important under the colonial administration? See, the British gave much importance to the practice of surveying because they believed that country had to be properly known before it could be effectively administered. See, what did they believe? What did the Britishers believe? They believed that the country had to be properly known before it could be effectively administered. For example, if we take the district collector can administer the district effectively only when he or she knows very well about the district, isn't it? Yes. Therefore, they carried out detailed surveys by the early 19th century in order to map the entire country. So, in order to map the entire country, what did they do? They carried out detailed surveys. Okay. Then they conducted revenue surveys in villages. Then they made efforts to know the topography, the soil quality, the flora, the fauna, the local histories and the cropping patterns. So they conducted revenue surveys in villages and also they made efforts to know what? The topography, the soil quality, the flora, the fauna, the local histories and the cropping patterns. So, the Britishers carried out detailed surveys by the early 19th century. For what purposes they did? In order to map the entire country. Okay. And Britishers also introduced census operations held every 10 years from the end of the 19th century. Then who introduced census operations? Britishers, isn't it? Okay, Britishers introduced census operations held every 10 years from the end of the 19th century. So, how many years once is the census operation held? Every 10 years once. You know, even today, this census operation is carried out every 10 years once across India. Okay, and also they prepared detailed record of the number of people in all the provinces of India, noting information on castes, religions and occupations separately. Then the British also carried on several other surveys such as botanical surveys, zoological surveys, archaeological surveys, forest surveys, etc. See, do you know about botanical surveys? Botanical surveys maintain record of plant species in an area, isn't it? See, what do you know about zoological surveys? It also takes into account vulnerable and endangered species, isn't it? Then, do you know about archaeological surveys? In archaeological surveys, archaeologists search for archaeological sites and collect information about the location and distribution of past human cultures. See, for example, already we have discussed about Keelade Ahalvarachi, Keelade excavation, then other excavation sites are there, no? So these archaeologists search for archaeological sites and collect information about the location and the distribution of past human cultures. Okay. Then, what do you know about the forest surveys? See, forest surveys is the study and research to periodically monitor the availability of land and forest resources for conservation and environmental protection. So, these are the surveys carried by Britishers. Okay, in this way, they gathered all the facts that were essential for administering a country. Okay. Students, I hope you all understand this chapter clearly. I will send you classwork through PDF. Okay, you copy it in your classwork. Thank you. And children, I hope you all will complete these 2 chapters properly. Yes? Okay, thank you.